Hello my friends, how are you? So I'm back again with another Kundalini update video. So there's a couple of things that I've been using that I feel like has activated my Kundalini or the Kundalini energy in my body, and I'm going to share those things with you. But just to recap, the last video that I made, I was talking about how I felt that the Kundalini symptoms had died down and stopped. Well, my symptoms died down and stopped. I felt like the awakening process may be ending. I wasn't really sure. And, I was looking for answers, doing research. But at that time, I was only experiencing mild symptoms. It had been weeks before that I had any intense symptoms. And that was strange for me because for me at that, before they slowed down, at least 2 times throughout the week, I would have this intense symptom of buzzing and vibrating in the middle of the night or early in the morning, and visions and stuff like that. So I had this really intense symptom of this vision and this buzzing and everything, and it kind of scared me. And then after that, it had been weeks before I had experienced anything else. All I was experiencing was the mild symptoms. I experienced the ringing in the ears, which I still experience, probably a little bit more now, and it seems like it's moved to more in the right ear than the left. Also, the Kundalini chills. I haven't been feeling that much lately, but at the time I was feeling that a lot. It would be these chills that like flutters that just moving up and down the body, down the legs. It just lasted long, and it was so that way I knew it wasn't just like a regular chill because I was like kind of cold or something, because I wasn't. I'd be under the blanket when this would happen. And I was experiencing that quite a bit. There's a couple of things I forgot to mention in that video. There was like for 2 days straight, I was getting these kind of waves of heat moving underneath my feet, mostly my left foot, but it'd be like a wave of heat that would move from the bottom of the foot, from the heel to the front of the foot, underneath the foot, as well as a sensation that I would feel that I still get now. It feels like something's crawling on my leg, like the lower part of my leg. Like I'll feel something and I'll like look down and there's nothing there, or I'll reach to touch it and there'll be nothing there. So it's kind of like a sensation that something's crawling on me. I feel that sometimes, and I still get that from time to time. But when I made that last video, I hadn't been feeling anything other than that. None of the buzzing, visions, the real intense symptoms. So I mentioned it in another video, the vision that I had and what had actually scared me. But I'm going to go ahead and mention it again. At that time, a few weeks before that last video, I had this vision where I was in the middle of the night. It was early in the morning. My husband usually wakes up and get ready to go for work, and that's when I'm in and out of sleep. This morning he wasn't going to work, but his alarm kept going off, and when he finally shut it off, I had turned over and I was like getting comfortable to try to fall back to sleep. So I'm laying there and I'm like staring at the wall. I'm just staring at the wall and like kind of waiting to doze back off. And I either had an out-of-body experience, or I had some sort of I just became unconscious or something, because I then had a vision of a dark sky, like a night sky with white clouds. And so I'm looking at this sky and clouds, and I'm just laying there looking at it. And then suddenly I either then came back into my body, or I became conscious again. And that's when my mind started going. So I'm laying there looking, and then I'm like, okay, I know that I'm in my body. So I'm like, I'm in my room. I'm in my room, I'm in my bed. So how am I looking at a sky and clouds? And I said, okay, I must be dreaming. This must be a dream. Or am I dreaming? Am I dreaming about looking at a sky and clouds? This is all what's going on in my head. And then suddenly I realize my eyes are open. And so now I'm like, okay, how could my eyes be open and I'm in my room? How do all I see is the sky and clouds? And that kind of like scared me. It freaked me out. So I like tucked my head and like, kind of panicked. And then I felt the vibrating, the buzzing, zzz. And my husband's laying next to me in the bed. And so I'm kind of panicking because he's usually gone when I have these buzzing experiences. But he's laying there, so I'm like, oh my goodness, he's in the bed. What's going to happen? My brother was in town visiting, so he's in the living room, and I'm like, oh, I gotta, what's going on? How is this going to happen? he's here. Like, I just started panicking, and then the buzzing eventually died down. I had to get right up out of bed, go get the kids ready for school and take them to school. So I felt a little overwhelmed that day. I remember being in the car and kind of like being teary, like, that scared me. Like, I don't want to be scared. Like, I just felt overwhelmed. And I believe that the Kundalini energy is very smart and knows what we can handle. So I believe that because I was overwhelmed and afraid, that's why those type of symptoms, the visions and stuff, died down, and I hadn't experienced anything for weeks, because it was kind of like giving me a break. That's what I now believe that was all about, as well as my body adjusting to and getting used to the energy that was flowing through it. So now, getting to what I feel like has triggered and activated this energy in my body. So I got a couple of things, and the first thing is these cards that I ordered. Divine Guidance is the name of them. It's by Cheryl Lee Harnish, and they're called Oracle cards. I had, heard a lot about Oracle cards, so I did some research and I Googled, what's the best Oracle cards, and these came up a couple of times. It came up even on Amazon. I looked at the reviews. The reviews were good. So I said, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. It's 44 cards in it. So when I ordered them, really pretty, nice, beautiful cards. They come with this little book inside. These are the cards. There's a book inside, like a guidebook, that kind of tells you what all of the cards mean. Like, it's a definite, like, basically telling you what all of the cards, what the vision or what the image is on the card. You're also supposed to kind of like look at the cards, connect with them, and interpret what you think is on the card as well. Like, make it your own. You don't necessarily have to go by their definition of what they say that the image is on the card, but it's kind of like a guidebook. So I went through the cards. So I got the cards. I went through them. I kind of like went through each one, the pictures. Really beautiful, glossy, like really nice pictures and images on there, really pretty. And I went through each one and kind of like determined what I thought each one was, and I looked at the definition for each word. I kind of connected to them. And then I also, after reading the book and finding out what these images are on the card, they're called fractal images. So these images obviously have a lot of energy that emanate from the images. They're supposedly, like up to 60 plus feet of there's energy that emanates from these images on these cards. They're called fractal images. I looked it up, I Googled it, did some research, and fractal images are like never-ending patterns that you can even find out in nature and stuff like that. And when you read on the book, it kind of gives you some tips of things that you could do with them. So I gave myself a reading with them. The reading was great. It seemed like really on point with everything that I've been going through, in my life at the time. And so it also tells you that you can put a couple of cards near your bed or sleep with them near your bed at night, and it gives the body like a boost of energy. So I did my reading, and that evening, I put one or two cards near my bed, like on the nightstand. And that morning, in the middle of the night, I had a buzzing sensation. It actually came back, and this is, like I said, I know it's because of the cards, because it's just not a coincidence that the first day that I sat these cards, or two of these cards near my bed, that I suddenly now am experiencing the buzzing and vibrating that I hadn't felt in probably like almost a month. I had a vision of a face. It was kind of like a colorful face. It was like an outline of a face. It was almost like a face with no hair, almost like me. And it like looked to the side and looked down, and the colors, just the outline of it was really pretty. The eyebrows you could see, it was just like really colorful. The outline of it was colorful, like someone drew it with a colorful pen or something. And it was like waving its hand at me. And that's all I remember. I don't know what to take from it. But after that image, the buzzing and the vibrating, I experienced that. So that was one thing that I experienced, and I believe, and I know, not even say believe, I know that these cards, the energy emanating from these cards is what may have caused that to happen. So I just want to look at one of the cards, just pull out one just to, and so this one comes up like 41. It's kind of like an interesting image. I'm not really sure. I don't know them all by heart, exactly what that means, but I'm going to just look it up just to see what that card is. 41, creative. That's what, like I said, it has a definition for each one. It says you are fully aligned with the powerful light of source energy and loving harmony of Mother Earth. Your creative energy is centered and flowing. It is time to now embrace this energy. Perhaps you are an artist, a writer, a speaker, a dancer, a healer, a musician, or whatever. Dedicate time each day using your creative force in a way that brings you joy. Keep yourself grounded and connected through meditation. When you are aligned with Source and Mother Earth, your creative juices flow in abundance. I actually don't ever recall having that card, but I just decided to just dig into the middle of the card and read that. And that was kind of interesting. Kind of says something that I'm doing right now. I'm speaking. So, just to give you a little idea of what these cards, or what you'll find if you get these cards. But I do believe that the energy emanating from these fractal images, which, like I said, you could look that up and find out exactly what that means, which is very interesting. The next thing is, a few weeks back, a couple of weeks ago, me and my husband, we went to a crystal shop and got some crystals, and I made a video about it because I was drawn to a specific crystal in the store, and I liked it, and I didn't know what it was, didn't know the benefits of it, but after getting it and after looking up the definition and looking up not the definition but the benefits of that crystal, it actually had everything to do with what I was going through. It talked about healing. It talked about the crystal raises the Kundalini, which that really blew me away. It raises the Kundalini. It helps you to accept and connect with your psychic gifts and past lives and things like that, which was really, really interesting. So I had that crystal, and then I also I had my husband to go, because I looked up and I found this one called blue. Oh, it's not blue. It's just kyanite. That's what it's called, kyanite. And I had my husband to go and pick this one up for me. This is what he picked out. I like it. But I got it, and I heard that it works well with the blue apatite, which was the one that I was drawn to. So I slept one night with the blue apatite and this kyanite under my pillow. I put it under my pillow. This night, early in the morning, once again, the buzzing and vibrating started. And so what I would do sometimes, I try to like relax and let it take over. So I'm like trying to sink into it. And as I'm like trying to like relax into the vibrating, the buzzing got stronger, like zzz, like it got really strong. And then I saw a vision of my dad's face. Like it was like a little picture of his face that flashed, like glowing. And it looks like how he looks like, shortly before he passed away. He had hair and everything. And I remember seeing that. So I saw the face, and it kind of distracted me from how I was trying to focus on the vibrating and the buzzing of the energy. And then I heard a voice. It was a male voice, and clearly it would be him because I saw his face. And it said something, I can't make out all the words. It was like, the first word I think was your, something, 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 something. It almost felt like a warning, or it was like telling me not to do something. And so if I use my intuition, I'm kind of like getting the idea that he was saying that not to force this to happen, or you're trying to, or you're doing this the wrong way, or you're not doing this at the right time. It was kind of like a warning. And so it definitely distracted me, and then I just kind of like stopped focusing, and then the buzzing kind of like died down and went away. But like I said, it's not a coincidence to me that the exact night that I put these crystals under my pillow, that I had that vision of my dad's face and his voice, or a male voice saying something. I couldn't clearly make it out, but I can make out the energy of it, and it was almost like, don't do this way, or it was kind of like, to me, a warning, or like telling me not to do something, or to do something a certain way. Still can't really make it out exactly what it was saying. But that happened, and so I know that these crystals work. But I already knew that. I was talking about that in the last video. But that kind of, was one of the things that has activated or triggered this buzzing and this vibrating and this Kundalini energy. I don't know if it's maybe that I'm not supposed to be trying to make it happen and I just need to let it be. I'm not really sure, but that's pretty much what I'm trying to do. Just let it happen, but I continue to use my crystals for healing rather than trying to force these things to happen. Other than that, I also worked out. I hadn't been working out for like a couple of months. It's been months. And last week, Tuesday, I did some squats, some lunges, just did some exercising, and I went a little too hard because I was sore all the way up until like yesterday. Yesterday was like the last day of the soreness. So it took a week for the soreness to heal. So I went a little too hard, but I believe that also created or allowed this energy to move a little more and caused it to be activated and to have these Kundalini symptoms. I believe that happened. Now, before I end this video, I just want to mention something. Yesterday was my birthday, okay? Yeah, happy birthday to me. But I went to work, just a regular day. Me and my husband, we went out on Sunday to BB King's and, dance a little bit, listen to the live band, and, just to get out the house. It's been a while. And so we celebrated my birthday on Sunday. But yesterday I went to work and treated it like a regular day. It's not a big deal to me. And so I went to work. I got up in the morning. Yesterday morning, I actually felt a little bit of buzzing. It wasn't as strong, but I did feel a little something yesterday morning. So I get up. I go to drop the kids off to school. We leave the house. When I go out with them, I noticed was a lot of fog outside, really foggy. And so we get them in the car, and then we're getting ready to leave. We're going to drive down the road, and I noticed like so many white birds. It was insane, like a whole bunch of them on my street. And I think these birds are called the white ibis. I believe that's the name of them. So I've seen a flock of these birds even walking through my yard before, so it's not a big deal. But as I was going down the street, I seen a whole group of them on one side, at least 20 to 30 of them. Then as I go down a little bit more on the other side, there's another whole group of these birds again, like 20 or so. Then down a little further, another, all on my street. Like it had to be like 60 or more birds. It was just a lot. And I just was driving slow, looking at these birds like, oh my God, look how many birds are on the street here. Like, what is this? That's what I'm thinking. And right at that moment, I thought about the white feather that I found in my garage one day. I went out and I was like, talking to my angels, thanking them, praying. And then I noticed a white feather in the garage, which I just felt like was an answer from my angels. Excuse me. So right at that moment, I'm thinking about that feather that I found. And then immediately I noticed a song playing on the radio. It's Toni Braxton's Another Sad Love Song. And like it just hit me like a ton of bricks. That was my best friend who passed away, Alex. He would like play Toni Braxton to death, and it was sometimes I'd be like, could you please like play something else? And I just felt that was him saying happy birthday, like sent me things to get my attention, all this fog and then these tons of birds. And then suddenly his song is playing, and there's a certain part on the song that he would always like try to sing like her. And it was just like, oh my God, like it just hit me. I started crying and I felt it, and I just know that was him. I know that was him. There was a time in my life where things like this it seemed like everything that I'm experiencing, and I know it's probably the same for you, where it's been like these are things that you just see in movies, and it's kind of like it's not really real. But I want you guys to just move from that place of believing. And I'm working on just removing that word from my vocabulary. Like, I don't believe that was him. I know it. I'm moving from a place of believing things. And that's what you have to understand with this awakening. It's going to change your life in a lot of ways. And it's going to allow some magical things to happen for you. I know that sometimes it can be overwhelming and you kind of like, I just want to go back to how I was before I started experiencing any of this. I'm just like overwhelmed with it. Why me? But the thing is, this is happening to you for a reason. It's meant to happen. There's something that you are meant to do. And that's the reason why you're experiencing this. And if you weren't experiencing it and didn't know anything about it, that just would not be the way to live for you. You wouldn't be satisfied with that, with just not knowing, and just living in this whole matrix world of not realizing what's going on. But the fact that you're going through this is because there's something great, something that you need to do. This is not something that a lot of people will, are going to experience. And so it's really meant for you to go through this. It's really meant for this to happen to you. I've realized that this awakening is like even connecting me to the spirit world. There's interesting things happening that I know that I'm moving closer to actually being able to connect with that other world that you can't see, every single day, that you don't experience, on a regular basis. But, you're going to get closer to it. And so that's why this is happening. It's meant to happen for you. So be happy about it. Be excited about it. I know there's tough days with it. Sometimes it doesn't feel like fun. And then some days it's just like, oh my God, like a wow, So just revel in those moments and just be happy. Be excited and just allow yourself to experience it. Just run away with it. Okay? That's all I want to say, because that's what I'm trying to do myself. So that's pretty much it for the video. I just wanted to share that with you. Maybe I hope this helps. Maybe if you want to kind of like activate the energy, get it moving, maybe you can try these things. And until next time, peace and blessings.